Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
And I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on this show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire and the wisdom they share, people such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today, we are reviewing 2023 Pop Culture Review, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And there is a lot of ugly. So I guess we should start with mostly movies, because you and I are both really into movies or TV shows and stuff like that, books. So I guess we could really get into that for the most part. I was pleasantly surprised by Super Mario Brothers. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
We did a review on it. You can check that out, audience. John Wick 4 was awesome. I thought that was excellent. We also reviewed Sisu, Sisu. It's a foreign film, Finnish film, and action film, actually. It was really, really good, really gory film, but a lot of fun. Mission Impossible 7 came out. We reviewed that. That was a lot of fun. The Covenant, I was not able to see. Neither one of us were able to see that in the movie theaters, which I'm sad that we weren't able to. But that one was a really good one with Jake Gyllenhaal. It was a kind of a surprise, really good war movie. And The Killer, I saw, but you didn't.
Mm-hmm. Now, did that come out in theaters or that Netflix?
That's in Netflix. That's a Netflix movie,
right.
And it's rare to have memorable movies from Netflix. I mean, you and I have talked about this. We talked about Klaus being the most memorable that they've ever made. The Killer, I'd have to admit, is, and I just recently watched it. It's pretty good. It's a David Fincher film. It's got Michael Fassbender in it. It's about an assassin, essentially. And it's pretty good. It has a couple of really memorable fight scenes in it, just because of the brutality of them. So that I'd have to say that's one that stands out. The other one that stands out is The Blue-Eyed Samurai, which is actually a TV show. I think it's an 8-parter. Animated TV show meant for adults. It's not for kids. It's quite violent and it's really well done, and it has a female protagonist and that isn't cringy. And what I mean by that is that the Marvels just recently came out, and the female protagonist in that is very cringy. So
even though we haven't seen it, I mean,
yeah, I don't watch enough clips to just go, nope, not gonna do it.
It's something, and we'll kind of get into it, but a lot of the bad we haven't seen just because I vote with my dollar. Yeah. I feel like I want to vote with my dollar, and so I don't want to support some of these. So
some of these things that just aren't any good, to be perfectly honest. And there's tons of stuff out there about how bad the Marvels was. It did horrible box office.
The worst.
Yeah, the worst in Marvel history. And we talked about this with one of our bonus episodes about the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The big one that stands out for me is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer.
We're in a race against the Nazis. And I know what it means if the Nazis have a bomb.
We have a 12-month head start.
18.
How could you possibly know that?
We've got one hope. All America's industrial might and scientific innovation connected here. A secret laboratory.
Mm-hmm. That movie still has got me thinking about it, even months after seeing it. came out this summer. I didn't. We did our review kind of late. It was like 2 weeks after, 2 or 3 weeks after it came out. So it's not like it was a fast. We didn't get to it very fast, and and it had its problems. It's not my favorite of his films, but thinking back on it, it's a movie that kind of stuck with me just based on its
it's kind of deep thought element.
Yeah. It just really stuck with me. It had very haunting music, very haunting subject matter. Yeah, because it's basically a movie about the demise of the human species, essentially, if you really get down to brass tacks on it, I guess. So I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, at least?
Yeah, no, Oppenheimer, Mario Brothers, liked those. Did Barbie come out? I didn't see Barbie.
It came out this year.
Heard mixed reviews, but it came out real close to Oppenheimer. They were pretty.
Yeah, it was the same weekend. People were going to both of them at the same, like they'd go to one and then go to the other, or something like that.
Or which is something like that was going
both
on.
Are long
or is completely
too.
Different audiences. You had 13-year-old girls going to see Barbie, and then you had
45-year-old men going to see
Oppenheimer, I guess.
It became a meme. The people were talking about Barbenheimer is what they were talking.
Barbenheimer is what they
became a meme where people were going to both of them at the same, like in the same day or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
fun.
But they stand out because they actually did pretty well for the amount of superhero movies that we had just thrown at us this year. Those are the two standouts, I think.
Yeah.
I never saw Barbie. I have no interest in seeing it. But I just wanted to say that Christopher Nolan is, if not my favorite living filmmaker, he's one of the top 3 best. And he's actually done some amazing work, and this was another one of those. There's I'm gonna try buying it and rewatching it and just kind of analyzing a little bit more. It's a tough movie to get through, I think, just because of the subject matter. It's a very dour movie for sure.
It's very long.
Yeah, it's very long.
That was probably one critique I had for it, was just the 30 seconds where you're just like watching him walk, like could have probably been really cut down, right? Like there were a few times, and if you watch it again, you'll see it, but there's a few times where that's probably what he was going for. It's a slow burn. It's a deep movie. So those moments where he's taking a long stretch, to show him walking,
and it's a mood movie. It's meant to like project this mood of infinite like the demise of the species, essentially. So and any on your list that I didn't put out?
Yeah, we'll get to the bad, but I went and saw Napoleon and was thoroughly unimpressed. So
well, let's get into the bad then, if you don't have any more good.
Well, on the good, did you want to talk about Elon Musk?
Oh yeah, Elon Musk
and
his basically calling out Bob Iger. So anybody who doesn't know, Elon Musk is the CEO of Tesla, the car manufacturing company, and Bob Iger is the CEO of Disney, who left Disney, came back to Disney, and has summarily watched Disney burn to the ground. Disney supposedly lost $1 billion this last year, and doesn't look like it's doing anything to get better, like improve that. I mean, we Disney released what 2 or 3 movies this year that just did terrible. And he was at the Elon was at the Deal Book Summit, the New York Times Deal Book Summit, and basically called him out. Who said Bob Iger needs to, step up or something because people are starting to boycott Disney because Disney, I don't think, makes movies for families anymore. I think Disney makes movies for activists. I think that's what.
Yeah.
And I like this saying, activism, the reason we can't have nice things. So basically,
well, Disney was talking about pulling their advertising from Twitter, from X.
Yeah.
And Elon, his response to that was, "You're trying to bribe me with money."
Yeah.
Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And so,
and it lit up the
very clearly.
Yeah, he says it very clearly, and it lit up the internet world for the last couple of months. And we did an entire episode about it. That was a few weeks ago. So anyway, so we don't really need to rehash it, but it was this kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a baller moment, because he did stumble over a few things in the same interview. But
yeah, well, and he, in the interview, he did also say that, like, he did kind of point to the fact that Disney is struggling, like Disney's being boycotted as well, right? Like, basically. And I don't know that there's a real boycott that's going on Disney, possibly with the conservatives.
Well, but families are kind of leaving Disney because Disney, like I said, Disney is no longer making movies for families. Disney is making movies for activists or to create activists, and in the 1960s, activism was a necessary thing to change the culture. But I see activists nowadays very much like St. George after he's killed the dragon, right? And he's out there and he's chopping down daisies and stuff like that with his sword because he doesn't have anything to kill anymore. And that's how I see activism today, because all the social norms so they're just making everything worse, essentially. I never saw Wish. I never saw Indiana Jones, the fourth Indiana Jones. I never saw the Marvels. These are all Disney movies that came out and flopped and pretty hard.
Lost a lot of money.
And one of the theories that I've seen thrown around the internet is that they're no longer trying to make movies for the general audience of Americans. They're trying to make them for a worldwide audience. And by doing that, you then pull back on good storytelling because you're trying to make it a very general storytelling thing. And this is this isn't my original idea, but basically it's like you're no longer trying to get the American audience anymore, and the American audience is leaving. Like, these films did well overseas, but they did terrible in the United States. So it's hard to tell if Disney will learn their lesson from this. Because this is the bad. This is what's happened to and Elemental came out this year from Pixar, and Pixar / Disney. They're both basically the same company at this point, but it didn't do well either. It did well overseas. It didn't do that great here. And that's uncommon for Pixar. Pixar has had 2 flops in 2 years. And they have been, before that, they were like you could not stop them. It's the same thing with the Marvel movies. Before Endgame, you could not there wasn't one that did terrible. They were just knocking. I guess the Hulk didn't do so good with Edward Norton.
The time that the Hulk didn't do well was right after Iron Man, the first Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like the Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe hadn't even been established when that Hulk did horrible. So like,
so we've seen like this precipitous decline in the, now Disney owns something like, I want to say, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's something like 70% of all basically all film franchises. So they own basically 70% of it. And so it's like,
really,
it's high. It's so they own the Star Wars franchise, they own the MCU, the Marvel franchise. They own a lot, and they have declined in quality for years now, and it doesn't seem to be there seems to be no stopping it. There was the strike, the writer and actor strike that in Hollywood, and most people that listen to our channel don't really care about this crap, but the truth is that it was kind of like a coffin. I think it was kind of like a nail in a coffin for Hollywood movies. And we've seen ups and downs throughout the, what is it, over 100 years of movies.
This was a very long strike, and we haven't seen
the effects of it.
The effects of it yet, but we will.
Yeah, we will. So Transformers 2 for the last strike was a product of the last strike. And Transformers 2, for those that don't know, is a terrible film by all measurements.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that that was a product of the last writer strike. And so Hollywood does this thing where they get into a rut. They make a couple of really bad movie or a bunch of flops for about a year or 2 years, and then they'll start trying to branch out and do better. And I'm hoping that that is the case for the coming year, but I'm not seeing signs that's going to be.
I think we might have a couple of years. I think we might have a couple lackluster years, and then we'll start seeing it kind of come back.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. So
hopefully. We'll see.
So that and then you said that I still want to see Napoleon, and we might do a longer review when I actually get a chance to see it. But you said that it was like,
it was really long. It was really slow. It was kind of all over the place. If I could just kind of sum up the whole viewing experience, it would just be kind of blah. Like that would, if I could sum it all up, that's about
which is sad to me because Ridley Scott, the director of that film, is one of my favorite directors, and the last two movies he's done have been really, by all accounts, really bad. And
so it was Napoleon, and then what was the last one?
The last one he did was The Last Duel, which I found to be a highly misandry movie. I found it offensive.
The newer Blade Runner was good.
He didn't direct it. He helped produce it. That was actually the Dune director, Denis Villeneuve. And that director is an up and coming director who's going to, well, not up and coming. He's been around for 10, 15 years. But anyway, the point is that Ridley Scott made in the early 2000s some of the best movies. He made Black Hawk Down. He made Gladiator. He, he's been the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut is probably a perfect film. It is not the theatrical cut, but it is the director's cut is a beautiful meditation on honor, and it's a very good film. Unfortunately, I don't think he's doing so well with his films, and that's sad to me. because I mean, he is in his 80s and he's making huge movies, so you got to hand it to him there at least. Um the creator was a bit of a disappointment for me. I thought it could have been better. I
trying to
though
support the new
new ideas. Yeah,
the
I
new
really
ideas,
want to
doing something different, doing something like changing it up. Yeah.
And that's what I'm, as far as television is concerned, I checked out of all of the Star Wars television series after the second season, or I should say the first episode of the third season of the Mandalorian. So I kind of checked out from Star Wars
I didn't even finish
shows.
Ahsoka, which I was hesitant to be excited for because I love the Ahsoka character.
Yeah.
But it just kind of blah.
Yeah, and I didn't look at Obi-Wan, and so basically the Star Wars franchise to me is dead. I'm done with it. And that's sad because it was a big deal for me for a long time. And that's the ugly about all of this, I think, or the good or the bad, I should say. The bad, that's more of the bad. I mean, you got any other like really disappointing things that happened this year?
So I thought Rebel Moon looked kind of good. Like I was okay with
Did you watch it?
The trailer, but I started it and oh my gosh. It's just a mess. I haven't even finished it. It's just such a I actually stopped watching it and started watching Reacher. Like I was like, I got off of Netflix, went to Amazon Prime to watch Reacher. So hopefully Reacher is good, but I haven't gotten very far or anything. The first season of Reacher was actually really good. So second season started that.
Just came out actually. Yeah. So if you could sum up what the problem was with Rebel Moon, what would you say?
Well, like I said, I didn't finish it. But it just if I could sum it up, it just
dorky.
Dumb.
Yeah. Dumb.
Yeah, like just dorky.
Yeah.
Like really. It was just some of the so they've got a horse with like some kind of mask on it, and she's like plowing at the very beginning. You see her and she's like plowing. So she's like this farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of looked really odd to me. Of course, I'm a horse guy. Like we grew up with horses, so I guess this horse with the little masky thing on it just kind of was a little weird. And it was so on the nose. These Nazis come in, and it was so on the nose that these are the bad guys. It kind of bugged me. I was just like, really, guys? Really? Like
we couldn't have thought of something better.
Well, the thing is like in Star Wars, you look at them and you can you're just like, okay. In the first Star Wars, you look at the general, like you see the guys walking around, kind of look like Nazis. Like you're like, okay, I can kind of see it a little bit. Okay. Now, in this is the 70s. Nazis, that was
20 years.
There were still people around that
had been Nazis. In world. Yeah, that fought Nazis. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was still, but like, I'm not even kidding. These guys were dressed like exactly like Nazis.
So there's no like nuance at all.
Yeah, it was just really on the nose. And that I would say that like everything was just kind of on the nose so far that I've seen. It's just like she has a conversation. I was raised in war. So that she like so on the nose. She's talking about how she was raised in war. And before she even like starts fighting, right? Because these Nazis come in and they're gonna rape this girl, and she beats the crap out and kills them all. Okay. But you knew that was coming because in the scene prior, she was telling somebody about how she was raised in war. And now you're like, all right, she knows how to kill people.
So essentially no surprises. It's all like predictable. It's all very cheesy. It's all, I'm not even going to waste my time. Like, and that comes back. So I'd like to just point out this Variety article that came out like December 20th. The headline, it's by Tatiana Siegel, and Variety usually is the ass kisser of Hollywood. But the headline is this: strikes, box office bomb, and huge leadership vacuum. Hollywood says goodbye to the worst year in a generation. And that sums up kind of what's going on. Like it is really sad. It is, we've always like everybody complains about Hollywood movies and this and that. This wasn't very good. This wasn't very good. I'm not happy about that. It's always been around, right? I mean, I used to write reviews of movies and just tear them apart. But this year feels specifically bad for Hollywood. It just really feels like, you guys aren't making good stuff anymore. So, and we did in our good segment, we did point out the good ones, but for now, I mean, right now there aren't a lot of good ones.
I think it was nice timing for Critical Drinker to bring out this video talking about the Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got to check that one out.
He talks about how the Lord of the Rings, the way it was made and the way that they made it and the way they viewed it was, there's an interview with Peter Jackson where he says, we didn't want to interject our own things into it. We wanted to take what Tolkien had built and actually like, how would Tolkien had wanted this, right? That was like kind of the question that they would ask themselves. That was like how they were trying to view it, rather than how would ourselves nowadays, how would we want to interject into it? And that's gone away.
Well, that's made bad content. It's made bad movies. The Lord of the Rings series. I don't know one person that I've talked to that says that they liked it or finished it, or everybody's excited to see it, and then they watched it like 2 or 3 episodes in, and they're like, this is terrible. I've heard people complain about the Wheel of Time series and how bad that is. Like, it's cheap. Like, it looks cheap. It's supposed to be expensive, but it looks cheap. And that tends to be like what keeps happening in our entertainment, in our pop culture. This could be good or bad, but I guess the WHO finally lifted its the COVID restrictions or whatever.
That we're in an emergency.
That we were in
lifted the fact that we're in an emergency. So we're, not in an emergency anymore.
Just this year. And that was in May of this year. It's like, really?
So we were in a worldwide emergency for 4 years.
For 3 years. That I don't know. What is that, good or bad? It's good that they lifted it, but it's bad that it took them 3 years to end up lifting it.
To do it.
I guess that's in the more broader culture is that. Can you think of any weird trends that happened? Like a few years ago, there was the Tide Pod, kids were eating putting Tide Pods in their mouth and dying from it and stuff like that. Was there anything that dumb that happened this year?
There was the fun one that's the Roman trend.
Oh yeah,
how often do you think about Empire?
Rome?
And then there's
fun.
the SNL skit that I sent you.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
That it was
ancient Rome, founded London, Paris, Zurich, and Cologne, and in terms of religion.
Hilarious. At least SNL like hit it on the head on this one.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
The Saturday Night Live did a skit with Jason Momoa where he's the woman singing, I wonder who he's thinking about. Is he in love with me? Is he thinking about another woman? And then it like goes to
he's like,
his
I'm
mind,
thinking about Rome.
and he's thinking about Rome.
Yeah. So it's a really funny skit. And supposedly that was a trend a TikTok trend that happened. And we did an entire episode on it about what that kind of means for our society. And that's a fun one. I would say that was fun. That goes to the good, right? The good that we
throw that in the good basket.
Yeah. So
at least it wasn't, it was,
people weren't dying from it. It was just kind of a funny thing.
And it wasn't like the battle of the sexes. It was actually more kind of just a fun recognition that we're different.
Yeah.
Because in that SNL skit, that was one of the things. Is the wife in this skit is just like, you should think about more important things than Rome, like astrology.
And then there's their kid who's like,
and then
I think about dinosaurs.
Like the kid is like, dinosaurs. He's thinking about dinosaurs. And
yeah,
and then the girls are all singing about how they think about astrology. And it's like, this is perfect. Yeah. So,
well, and you could put other like topics into that, like murder,
true crime
documentaries and stuff like that. The women
tend to like to watch. So
so
or for men, World War II.
Yeah, World War II documentaries. That's a big one for
World
men.
War II stuff.
Or Vikings.
And Vikings.
We think about Vikings a lot.
Vikings, Rome, and World War II.
Yeah.
Middle-aged men's appropriate thoughts.
Thought process. So that's I think we could probably get into the ugly now. So some of the ugly things that happened this year, I mean, it's obvious that the news kind of took a dive this year, I would have to say, and it's been slowly dying for many years, but recently the CNN tried to do their own subscription service, and they failed miserably at it. And
oh, really? I did not hear about that. Interesting.
Well, I think this is actually last year, but it probably bled into this year. They tried to do a subscription service, and nobody bought it. And so it was a complete and utter fail. And ESPN has been failing lately. I've read some articles about that. So for the most part, the news is really taken a huge hit, and we're coming into an election year, and so I can't imagine that it's going to get any better. But the Daily Wire keeps growing, so there's something to be said there. And they're delving into kids content now with Bent Key
content. Yep. And on the good, we didn't mention Sound of Freedom. That was
that's a good one.
This year.
Good thing. Sound of Freedom was really good. I mean, Tim Ballard has been dragged through the mud lately, so I don't really know all the details in that. But as far as the movie and the good that trying to get children out of trafficking, I would say that was probably the shining light. It was a $14 million movie that basically made 125 million at the box office.
Oh, okay, something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. I don't know the final numbers, but that was a really good one. So I guess the bad would be, well, and depending on who you are, but like This year kind of opened up like a goose egg of criticism for the LDS church. This could be depending on who you are.
This year?
Well, I guess, I mean, just you hear about a lot of, there's been a lot of like murders and stuff like that from LDS members and
coming out.
There's a ton of maybe I'm just getting like, I'm just noticing it now. And
maybe.
It's just been around for a while, but there's a bunch of podcasts out there about the cult of the LDS church. It's either good or bad. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that's come out about Tim Ballard has been, I think, damaging to what he's been trying to do. I don't know how true it is. I don't know how false it is. I don't know. But I think anybody who's trying to get kids out of trafficking is bound to have somebody come after him, right?
Yeah. Also, like, and I still support Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
Operation Underground Railroad, even if there's bad stuff that's, that that Ballard has done, doesn't mean his organization isn't out there doing good things. Right.
And that's the sad thing I think about society today, because if you slip up as somebody and you have started a business or an organization or something like that, and you slip up, then it reflects badly on the organization, right?
It reflects badly on the organization, but it also doesn't mean that the organization is bad, right? Like, just because just because there is a Catholic that does something bad doesn't mean that
the whole Catholic Church,
bad,
Catholicism,
right? Like, it's tough to see, some of that stuff happen, especially when you support the cause.
Yeah, that is tough. Even though, I mean, and the end of the year, I doubt anybody's going to be talking a lot about that movie, but that is a very good movie and it should be sought out. It's very well done. But
the Daily Wire with some of their stuff that's pretty cool to see them start to put together a lot of they're starting to make their own content, and I haven't watched any of their kids' content yet, but I should start getting.
Bent Key. They released Bent Key. They actually were criticized by the New York Times recently about painting a unrealistic good father in one of their shows. I mean, that, like, okay, let's make fun of the people who are trying to like shed light on good fathers instead of all the shit that's out there. It's like, congratulations, you guys caught them at doing good.
That's interesting.
And they criticized Bluey too, the show on Disney Plus, which, by the way, Michael, if you haven't watched that with your kids, you need to start watching that.
I've seen some Bluey. Yeah, I've watched some.
It is a brilliant show.
But
brilliant.
But it's also, the father in it is
a good father.
Good father in it,
and they got criticized for it by the New York Times. It's like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? It's like, do you want to discourage people from ever having good relationships? Is that your goal?
Yeah.
Thank you for the criticism for doing good. Jeez, what a bunch.
So that'd be part of the ugly, I guess.
I guess that would be part of the ugly. I mean, Bluey's been out. It's like there's 3 seasons or something like that. It's been out for a while, and I love watching it. I love watching it with my kids. I love watching it by myself. Like it's a good, like, you see these parents and they're trying to do good by their children, and you kind of go, wow, I should really do more of that. you're just thinking to yourself, yeah, I need to be better at being a parent.
Yeah.
And everybody can improve,
Yeah.
So the whole like idea that this doesn't depict realistic versions of parenthood, it's like, yeah, you guys are in the wrong. You guys need to just slow your roll. Maybe praise them for trying to do something good.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, instead of, but there's all that's going on. I guess we should move into the ugly. There's quite a bit of ugly that happened this year, I would have to say.
Big one would be the Hamas attacks on Israel. That's kind of the
big one.
Big one.
That
but
was
at the same time,
brutal.
That was horrible. That was brutal. And I'd kind of forgotten about this, but they had the conversation. I was listening to the Rock and Joe Rogan, their podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast with the Rock on it. And they were talking about Maui and the fires.
Yeah.
And how right after that, they sent
the government.
The US, they overpaid the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it was like an accident that they overpaid them or something.
It was
like $6 billion. And they were like, oh, but it's okay because we'll be paying them a lot more down the road anyways. And an accident, it's just like, are you kidding me? But they had this conversation where that $6 billion, for way less than that, they could have went and rebuilt everybody's homes in Maui.
Yeah.
After that fire. And it's just like, come on, guys. Like, I get supporting Ukraine. I get, keeping
peace, trying to keep peace.
Well, keeping Russia at bay. Yeah. I get some of those things. But like, let's take care of our own. Seriously, we've got, we want to fix healthcare in this country. We've got inner cities that need to be cleaned up, and we got Maui homes
burning down,
and that could be rebuilt. And they did something crazy, like they sent $700 like one time to like each one of them or something like that.
It's like, oh yeah, that's gonna.
It's like, are you kidding me? Like that doesn't that does not going to help us at all. Anyways,
well, and
so there was that. I had forgotten about the submarine that
the submergible,
that went down
missing.
To go supposedly
captivated the United States, and everybody was like, where's this, and everybody died on board. Brutal.
Yeah. So that
happened
sad.
this year. So those are the I guess those are the news stories that hit our airways that were really bad. I would still argue that the worst of those is probably the Hamas attacks. I mean, some of the videos that came out of that are seared into my brain. Like it's just horrific stuff. And then to think that our entire the youth of this nation thinks that that we should blame Israel for that.
Yeah.
That's like blaming the victim of a rape for being raped.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to get too far into the political, but that is pretty much the ugly that has happened. That could still be bad. It's still considered bad, but it's also very ugly. It's some ugly shit.
Well, we had cities and cities across the US and colleges across the US that were, chanting "kill Jews." And like,
yeah.
I mean,
did we learn nothing from
anti-Semitism is like, it keeps happening, and then we're going to allow it to keep. I don't know. I'm a free speech absolutist, but these colleges are like, oh, we can't let Ben Shapiro on our campus because that's hate speech. But you can yell "kill Jews." That's fine. Come on, guys.
Yeah, guys, that's
come on.
Yeah. there's a definite disconnect in all of that. And I'm sure that it's reminiscent. If you planted a reasonable person from 1930s Germany to now, he probably, other than the technology, he probably wouldn't notice the difference. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, they were talking like this in Nazi
Yeah.
occupied Germany."
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, as far
So
as
yeah. So
the
ugly stuff.
so as far as pop culture, I should say movies. For me, I think we touched on this a little bit, but for me, I there was a time in my life where I went to every movie in the movie theater that I could get to, regardless of whether I would not listen or watch anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no spoilers. I'd usually watch the first trailer and then I'd go to the movie and make my kind of come out going, okay, that was terrible or that was good. And now, because of how much bad has been released lately,
Crap. Yeah.
I have stopped looking or stopped doing that. Instead, I kind of read a little bit about it and decide on whether I want to go. And quite frankly, I'm just avoiding all the woke, the push to blame all white people for all the problems in the world. I'm avoiding the push to um, make men the evil people of the world. I'm avoiding all of these tropes that have seared themselves into pop culture.
Yeah.
And so
and just not going and seeing those.
and then just
So
not
it's just
going and
like,
seeing them.
all right, cool.
And
That's
more than just those that I just said, the woke stuff. If it's bad, I don't
just a
want to waste
terrible
my
movie.
time. If it's a terrible movie, I don't want to waste my time going to it. So I avoided um Indiana Jones 4. I avoided the Marvels. I avoided Elemental. I avoided because I was learning all about them before I went to them and going, do I really want to waste my time? Essentially. And so many of the things. So and as far as television shows, I stopped watching I mentioned this already, stopped watching the Star Wars television shows or the Marvel shows. I couldn't even get through like 30 seconds of the Hulk She-Hulk TV show. I was like, this is so
Did
bad.
that come out this year?
It might have been last year, actually. Now that I think about it.
No, I think
It was never renewed. Hopefully they don't renew it. But yeah. I'm having trouble.
Do Daredevil. I hope they stay away from it.
Yeah, well, you knew about that, right? They canceled it. They had 8 episodes shot and put together
of Daredevil.
And
they canceled it.
And they went, nope, we're not going to do this.
Good deal. Yeah, that's good.
So I don't know. It was like $200 million that they just sunk into it, and I don't know if you heard that, but basically they were like, no, we're not. We're learning.
Somebody watched it and they're like, guys, we're not gonna. This is horrible.
Well, and then
they're just like, bag it.
Yeah, and then the DC did terrible too, because I'm not hearing good things about Aquaman, which recently came out, and I heard and I never saw The Flash with the return of Michael Keaton. And I did kind of want to see it when I originally saw the first trailer. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, are they going to ruin this? Are they going to make this dumb? Do I not want to spend my time doing this?
Yeah.
Is it better for me to just, and so in my mind, it's better for me to think that the end of Indiana Jones happened when they rode off into the sunset in the Last Crusade, which was it came out in 89. Because I'll tell you, the one that came out in, what was it, 2000, I think it was 2005.
Crystal Skull.
Crystal, who gives a crap, basically comes out and it's terrible. I went to opening day sat in the theater and immediately was like, what is going on? Because it was bad. And so I had no desire to see this last one at all. And I'm thankful that I didn't, because I started listening to reviews of it and it did not sound good.
Horrible.
So any last thoughts on like the ugly? Or we could even do good, the bad, the ugly, last thoughts kind of thing.
Don't watch Leave the World Behind on Netflix.
Oh, did you watch that?
That was a horrible.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Waste of my time. I watched the whole thing.
Oh,
it was one of those things. Like a lot of times, if I don't like a show, I will just stop watching it. Right? We talked about Rebel Moon. Right? I kind of just quit watching it.
Is this a TV show or a movie?
It's a movie.
Okay.
And Netflix put out, with Ethan
Hawke.
Ethan Hawke and
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Yeah. Julia Roberts.
And Mahershala Ali.
Kind of starts out interesting. But
it's about the end of the world, right?
Yeah, it's basically it's, and they start to let you know, oh, it could be this, it could be that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I keep thinking it's gonna get better. Like, and I think that's why I kept watching it, is just because I was like, okay, well, maybe this will get better, because it kind of just like teased you with getting better.
Oh yeah.
But some of the writing was just like that. I'm not even kidding. There's a scene where this lady, her son, his teeth are falling out of his head, and he's pulling his teeth out of his head. Okay.
Ooh.
And she's like, what the F? And then her husband comes in and he's like, what the F? And then she turns to her husband and says, yeah, that's what I said.
What?
And I was like, who wrote this? Like, people don't talk like that. That never happens.
Especially in panic mode. Like, you'd be freaking out, grabbing the kid and taking it to a hospital.
There was just little things like that throughout, with the writing, with the dialogue. That was just like, are you what? Like that? Okay, whatever. Whoever wrote this, no. And that was just a very small part. It was just like, it was so dumb. I mean, the animals come out and the animals are like all gathering around the humans. And then you see Julia Roberts do a whole freak out to like scare the animals away. It was just so bizarre and so all over the place. And like very artsy. They kept thinking that they were being artsy about it. Like they had these weird shots where they'd be up above and stuff. But it was horrible. Don't watch it, people. Just don't waste your time.
Away from it.
that
applies to the ugly. That applies to the ugly, I guess.
So anyway, that was the last thing. My wife and I got into Better Call Saul. And we've been kind of enjoying that. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the advent of all the terrible that's been coming out, that I tend to go back. Now, I have been watching the new season of Reacher. I'm not all the way through it. So far, it's been very pleasant. Nothing really unique yet, and I'm hoping for something to stand out, like last season. But I'm just kind of like trying to avoid all the bad, just so I don't waste my time. My time is a little bit more precious than it used to be, so I don't subjugate myself to all the crap. So now I guess voting with your dollars, like you always say. So on that note, I think we can wrap this on to 2024, right?
Yeah, 2024. Hopefully it's better. If not, then we'll just have to pick up some old books.
Old stuff. Go back to the old stuff. The
Go
stuff
back to
that
the
when they
old
were
stuff.
doing when they were doing good. Like Breaking Bad is probably the best TV show ever made. I mean, it's pretty close. It's one of the only TV shows I've rewatched. And it wouldn't hurt to rewatch it. It still holds up pretty good. The technology's a little off, because it's older phones and stuff like that, but still a pretty good movie or show, I should say. And then so anything that you're looking forward to in the year to come?
Looking forward to Dune.
Dune 2.
Part 2.
Yep.
I think it's part 2. Isn't that right?
Part 2. Yep.
Yeah.
I was
forward to that.
thoroughly impressed with the first one. That's Denis Villeneuve. I probably butchered his name. He's a French Canadian director. Does really, really interesting movies. They're always shot beautifully. They always look beautiful, his movies. I don't always like his movies. He did the latest Blade Runner, and he did do Sicario. He directed that. That was really well done.
Great movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie. So he has his his ups and his downs, but Dune, I was impressed with the first one, so I am also looking very forward to the sequel.
That's all I can think of.
You know, what?
I can't even think of another show that I'm looking forward to, like movie.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of anything.
Jeez. So that's not great.
Yeah, it's not great.
One
that I'm looking forward to. Oh, that Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling, I should say, Fall Guy. That looks pretty good. It looks fun.
Okay.
You should look
Fall
at that.
Guy.
Yeah, it's about
is that the one where he's a
stunt double? He's a stunt man who has to go find somebody for the production that he's working for. Anyway, it looks interesting. It probably won't be that good, but I'll try to go see that one.
Yeah. So cool.
It might be fun. So, and as far as like Star Wars, Marvel, all the things that we talked about, I am not looking forward to anything they're putting out. No, not
I don't know
at
if
all.
We're gonna get another. Are we getting another Star Wars film?
No, they've basically pulled back on everything.
Yeah,
Disney is in what is it? Triage. They're trying to salvage themselves from probably the worst year they've ever had.
That's good. They need to go back to the drawing board, recalibrate. And I've heard some guys just say they needed to shelve Star Wars for 10 years,
and
then come back to it.
Back. Yeah,
like
fresh blood.
Like just shelve Star Wars because you're not doing anything good with it. Which I'd be fine if they would just do good stuff, but it's all garbage. So, I was excited for the Obi-Wan series, and that was a nightmare.
What a missed opportunity. A
missed opportunity. An Obi-Wan series just sounded so cool to me. But nope.
We could chalk 2023 up to a year of missed opportunities.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Year of missed opportunities. Yeah.
All right, brother. On that note, check us out on social media, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for the Sword in the Skull. If you would, dear listener, if you're just listening to this, go to YouTube and subscribe to us. It gets our numbers up, and we can actually see where we stand with all that. So that would be much appreciated. And everyone have a good new year. Keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.